bringing parliamentarians and parliamentary staff together to exchange ideas among themselves and with experts in various fields to identify benchmarks of good practices and new policy options that can be adopted in the governance of the people. The CPA Constitution provides for the establishment of branches in parliaments of member states. Each branch elects members to the executive committee, which is the apex body that manages the affairs of a branch, in addition to the 10 members from the National Assembly. The following senators form part of the executive committee of the CPA Kenya branch: Senator Kenneth Lusaka, EGH MP, Speaker of the Senate; Senator Samuel Bogisho, EGH MP, Senate Majority Leader; 3, Senator James Orengo, EGH Senior Counsel MP, Senate Minority Leader; Senator CPA Farhia Ali, MP, Deputy Majority Whip; Senator Petronila Were, MP, CWP Kenya Vice Chairperson; and Senator Mohamed Faki, MP. Each branch elects members to the regional body which coordinates the activities of the region of the CPA. The CPA Africa region is one of the 9 regional associations of the CPA International that is made up of the 18 branches from the continent. The activities of the African region are similarly coordinated by executive committee drawn 3 representatives from all CPA Africa branches across the member states. Honorable Senators, the CPA Africa region aims to promote and protect interests of African parliaments and countries in the Commonwealth and to promote the democratic ideals of the CPA, including women empowerment, respect for human rights and freedoms, representative government, and good governance. The region undertakes a number of programs, including its annual regional conferences geared towards deliberating and arriving at a consensus on pertinent issues. The CPA Kenya branch will host the 80th Executive Committee meeting of the CPA Africa region. The meeting is scheduled to be held from 12th to 18th July 2021 here in Nairobi. The Parliament of Kenya delegation will be led by Honorable Justin Muturi, EGH MP, Speaker of the National Assembly and Chairperson of the CPA Africa Exco. Honorable Senators, on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, as the joint president of the CPA Kenya branch, I welcome all delegates to Kenya and wish them fruitful deliberations. I thank you. Okay, I have another communication. Take your seat, Senator Susan. You are out of order. Out of order. Okay. So, Honorable Senators, as you are aware, on 29th October 2020, the High Court delivered a judgment in Constitutional Petition number 284 of 2019. In the judgment, the High Court issued a number of declarations and issued orders that affected a number of Senate bills pending before both houses. In compliance with the orders, the Senate has republished all bills for which the resolution contemplated pursuant to Article 110(3) could not be demonstrated. You will also recall that the High Court ordered that it is mandatory and a condition precedent by any bill that is published by either house to be subjected to a concurrence process to determine in terms of Article 110(3) of the Constitution whether the bill is special or an ordinary bill. As at now, a total of 58 bills have been published. Out of the 58 bills, 21 are undergoing concurrence pursuant to Article 110(3), 30 are at the second reading stage, and 3 bills are at the Committee of the Whole. 1 bill was referred to the National Assembly, while 3 bills have been ascended to. You will agree with me, Honorable Senators, that we have a heavy workload and therefore under pressure to finish the pending bills within a very limited time to the end of the term of the 12th Parliament. At its meeting held on Tuesday, 6th July 2021, the Senate Business Committee considered a paper on proposal for expediting consideration of Senate bills republished pursuant to High Court judgment in Constitutional Petition number 284 of 2019, and resolved that a meeting be convened to apprise senators on the resultant effect of the judgment and to establish a framework to expedite the legislative business before the Senate. Honorable Senators, in this regard, the Senate leadership has prepared a half-day workshop to be held in Nairobi on Thursday, 15th July 2021 from 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. The objective of the event is earlier to deliberate on one, implementation of the High Court judgment in Constitutional Petition number 284 of 2019, milestones, challenges and opportunities, B, status of legislative business, bills, motions, petitions and statements, C, framework for expediting pending legislative business, and D, the way forward. In view of the urgency and importance of this matter, I urge you to attend the workshop. The details regarding the venue shall be communicated through the office of the clerk. I thank you. Next order.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers. Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, statements.
Okay, Senator Beatrice Kwamboka, under standing order number 48-1.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I raise pursuant to Standing Order 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Health regarding the issue of the status of treatment equipment and facilities in Bagathi Referral Hospital in Nairobi City County. In the statement, the committee should outline the number and condition of computerized tomography, that is CT scan machines, available for patients seeking treatment at the Bagathi Referral Hospital. Number 2, state the amount of medical oxygen available for patients used in the said hospital. Number 3, elaborate on the bed occupancy versus capacity of the hospital's intensive care unit. And number 4, explain reasons as to why there are only 2 ventilators, yet the hospital requires 8 and has the requisite space to accommodate the 8 ventilators. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator, next statements by Senator Millicent Omanga. Not there, defined. Okay, we go to standing orders and okay. Under standing order number 51-1, the chairperson standing committee on agriculture, livestock and fisheries to make a statement here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Standing Order 51-1 provides that a committee chairperson may make a statement relating to a matter for which the committee is responsible. In fulfillment of this provision, I wish to make a statement regarding the state of Mumias Sugar Company Limited and its impending takeover or resuscitation. Honorable Speaker, at a sitting of the Senate held on 2nd June 2021, pursuant to Standing Order 48-1, Senator Cleophas Malala, MP, requesting for a statement from the chairperson of the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries on the state of Mumias Sugar Company Limited and its impending takeover. In the statement, the Senator sought the following information: the current state of the company's assets and liabilities, indicating the value and the core and non-core assets, and which entity undertook such evaluation, if any. The fate of the current receiver manager, details on when and by whom the decision to lease out the company was made, and any correspondence on the said decision to the Capital Markets Authority and other regulatory bodies. Details on the following: 1. Procedure to be followed by the government in selling its stake in the company and the bidding process, including who the bidders were, when the bidding took place, when the evaluation of submitted tenders was done, what criteria was used to pick the successful tenderer, what were the relevant legal instruments under which the process of leasing was conducted, whether there was public participation in the process, which other companies submitting their bids for the tender, and when they were invited to bid. The company's revival plan and details of the entity deemed to be qualified to take over Mumia Sugar Company Limited and a justification for the same, and whether stakeholders were consulted and a report of such consultation, if any, including the creditors and debtors, and who shall pay the pending debts owed by the company, particularly debts owed to farmers and workers. The Honorable Deputy Speaker directed the committee to report within 2 weeks. The committee met with the receiver manager, Mumia Sugar Company Limited, Mr. Ponagripali Venkata Ramana Rao, on Wednesday, 9th June 2021. He briefed the committee as follows. A restraining order was issued by the courts restraining the sale of immovable assets of the company on 6 November 2019, which order was thereafter varied on 12 May 2021 to include movable assets. The order has limited debt recovery options and available options to restart the company's operations. The receiver manager restarted distillery operations in February 2020. However, this faced several challenges, e.g. shortage of molasses and high cost of transportation of molasses and bagasse from other factories. Further, the receiver manager also began development in the nucleus estate from marginal revenue derived from the distillery. However, the distillery operations were suspended in March 2021 following directions from the ethanol plant lenders. These developments left the receiver manager with only one option of leasing the company's assets to revive its operations and progress recovery efforts for the secured creditors and other stakeholders of the company. As per audited financial results of the year 2018, the value of the company's assets was at 15.7 billion, while its liabilities were 30.1 billion. The net assets position stood at a negative 14.4 billion, implying that the company would not be able to meet its long-term and short-term financial obligations from its assets and was therefore insolvent. The company's assets may have deteriorated and its liabilities increased from June 2018, owing to additional interest and penalties on loan repayment, defaults, tax arrears, etc. The latest book values of assets and liabilities was not able to be availed in the absence of the statement of company affairs from the company directors. However, asset valuation undertaken through Centenary Valuers Limited in November 2019, estimating the market value of the company assets to be 18.4 billion. The receiver manager would continue to run the affairs of the company until such a time when the full amount owed to the secured lenders was recovered or until his appointment came to an end for any other reason. The decision to lease the company assets was discussed with KCB and the governor of Kakamega County, Necessary consents were also obtained from the national and county governments, secured lenders and other stakeholders like the Capital Markets Authority, Nairobi Stock Exchange, and Agriculture and Food Authority, and the National Treasury. The government could sell its stake by transferring its shares to any other party for payments or any other consideration. However, as per a 2018 audited financial statements, the shareholder value in the company stood at 14.4 billion, making it unlikely that any investor would be interested in purchasing a stake in the company. The receiver manager opted for private treaty as opposed to public tendering, as it is less expensive and much faster. The bidding process began in the first quarter of 2020 and was kept open for a year as the receiver manager was keen to obtain the best offer. 8 bidders submitted their bids, including Catalysis Group, Russia, Sarari Group, Uganda, Krumman Associates, France, Kibos Sugar, and Devki Group, Premier JV of India, Third Capital Management, and Godavari Enterprises of India. Evaluation of the bids began on 16 April 2021 using the following criteria: technical capability, financial ability to undertake large operations, lease period, initial security deposits, initial moratorium period, lease rent amounts, out of crop period OOC, limited damage and third-party interference, ability to revive the operations, and socioeconomic aspects and community welfare. On the matter of public participation, public treaty was chosen. However, the proposed leasing was carried in the media for several months. The governor of Kakamega has been kept appraised on developments. Engagements have been made with area MPs, secured lenders, NSE, CMA, and National Treasury. Honorable Speaker, following queries raised by members, the receiver manager made the following clarifications: that there was currently no lease agreement in place for the leasing of Mumia Sugar Company Limited, as the bidding process was ongoing and no bidder had been awarded the bid; that the receiver manager had not advertised for the proposed leasing of the company and instead preferred private treaties which were cheaper, more convenient and faster than the advertisement process; that the receiver manager was not in receipt of any withdrawal of a bidder, despite media reports that Devki Group had withdrawn its bid; that at the start of the receivership, the company owed 2.6 billion shillings and currently owes 2.765 billion as a result of accrued interest. That a minimum of 3 billion shillings, in the opinion of the receiver manager, would be necessary for investment into the company for its revival. However, no technical evaluation had been carried out, and that there was no conflict of interest on the part of the receiver manager in dealing with DEFCI Group. Following deliberations and noting the need for transparency and public participation, the committee resolved that the following be undertaken by the receiver manager. 1. Advertisement of the intention to list Mumia Sugar Company Limited within 2 weeks, and submission of a technical evaluation report for Mumia Sugar Company Limited to the committee. Via a letter dated 23rd June 2021, the receiver manager sought extension of time to end of July 2021 to publish the advertisement and submit the technical evaluation report to the committee. The committee resolved to invite the receiver manager to a meeting to discuss the request and to receive an update on the progress made by his office in implementing the committee resolutions. At a meeting held on Friday, 2nd July 2021, the committee met with the receiver manager, where he gave reasons for his request for extension of time as follows: to prepare detailed bid documents to maintain uniformity of the bids, and to discuss the modalities with all stakeholders before the invitation to international bidding was advertised in local and international media. He further informed the meeting that there were 2 applications before the courts seeking to stop the listing of the company, which would possibly interfere with the process. Following deliberations, the committee resolved that the receiver manager should advertise the intention to list Mumia Sugar Company Limited and submit the technical evaluation report by 31st July 2021. The committee further resolved that a follow-up meeting would be held on 6 August 2021. Honorable Speaker, the committee is taking this matter seriously and shall report to the House periodically. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Ndwiga. Although I had deferred a question by Senator Millicent Omanga, I'm told she has given it to Senator Falhada. So, Senator Falhada, you can make the statement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On alleged allegation payment of legal fees on outlaw farms by Nairobi City County, Mr. Speaker, I raise pursuant to Standing Order 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations regarding the alleged illegal payment of legal fees to outsource law firms by the Nairobi City County. In the statement, the committee should outline reasons for paying only law firms a total of Kenya shilling 795.9 million out of the county's allocation of shillings 2.5 billion meant for the clearance of all pending bills in financial year 2018-2019. Number 2, state whether documentary evidence was availed by the law firms to support the payment made by Nairobi County government. And number 3, state the progress made by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commissions on investigations of the legal fees paid to lawyers for services by Nairobi City County government. during financial year 2018-2019. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Falahada. The next statement is from Understanding Order number 51-1B, the Chairperson Standing Committee on Information and Communication. Any report? Okay, Chairperson Standing Committee on National Cohesion, Equal Opportunities. Senator Naomi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I stand to give a statement relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on National Cohesion, Equal Opportunity and Regional Integration pursuant to Standing Order 51B for the period commencing 26 March 2021 to 13th July 2021. Mr. Speaker, sir, pursuant to Standing Order 51-1B, to make a statement on the activities of the Standing Committee on National Cohesion, Equal Opportunity and Regional Integration for the period commencing 26 March to 13th July 2021. Honorable Speaker, sir, during the period under review, the committee held a total of 17 committee sittings. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee considered one statement brought by Senator Honorable Hedrut Musurube on the national government and county government measures to support BWDs during the COVID-19 pandemic. Response were received from the Ministry of Labor and Social Welfare and from the Council of Governors, Technical Committee on Health and Technical Committee on Human Resource, Labor and Social Welfare. The committee concluded consideration of the statement having received the necessary responses, particularly from the from the Council of Governors on the county government measures. The report on the statement is awaiting consideration by the committee. Honorable Speaker, with regard to bills, the committee is currently undertaking public participation pursuant to the provision of Article 118 of the bills number 19 of the 2021, following the first reading of the bill on Tuesday, 6 July 2021. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the period under review, the committee met the Chief Executive Officer, that's the CEO, of the Kenya Port Authority, KPA, to consider its compliance with the constitutional provision on the representation of ethnic diversity in its staffing. In addition, the committee also held a meeting with the Judicial Service Commission on matters of equal opportunity and inclusivity, as well as access to justice for BWDs. Honorable Speaker, the committee considered matters of inter-ethnic and political conflicts and recommended collaboration strategies to prevent such conflicts, particularly during campaign period, and measures to reduce political tension accelerated through the platforms of churches and the media. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the COVID-19 pandemic, the committee did not undertake scheduled visits to counties diversity affected by conflicts and has programmed county visits to those counties which we shall undertake after reduction of the COVID pandemic. Honorable Speaker, the committee attended to the assumption of the office ceremony of the Secretary General of the East Africa Community and continues to pursue matters of regional integration pursuant to its mandate. Honorable Speaker, the committee also undertook a report writing and work planning retreat from 13th to 16th June 2021. to consider a report on ethnic diversity and representation at the Kenya Maritime Authority and the Kenya Port Authority, which is ready for tabling. The committee also, Mr. Speaker, adopted its work plan and program activities. Honorable Speaker, the committee intends to carry out the following activities during the next quarter. 1, to undertake county visits in regions affected by conflicts, including Marsabit, Mandera, Isiolo, Wachia County, to address issues of cohesion and county public service diversity that were pended due to the COVID pandemic. 2, to engage, the committee also plans to engage with the various stakeholders relevant to the committee's mandate on matters of equal opportunity and inclusivity, among other issues. 3, the committee also intends to do capacity building on the committee of effective implementation of its mandate. We also want to undertake county visits to Busia, Malaba, and Isipania on issues of one border post. And lastly, the committee also has planned to promote regional integration and undertake visits to the East Africa Community organs and institutions in Tanzania, Uganda, and Rwanda. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity.
Senator Gideon Moi, I thought I saw him. Yes, Senator Gideon Moi.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 51, Section 1B, to make a statement on the activities of the Standing Committee on Information and Technology for the period commencing 9th February to 19th March 2021. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the period under review, our committee held a total of 6 sittings. Mr. Speaker, the membership of the committee changed by resolution of the Senate on 29 January 2020. The committee held an induction retreat from 18th to 20th March 2021 in Mombasa County. The retreat was an opportunity to engage with other stakeholders from government, private, and civil society in the ICT sector, and also served as a working plan retreat for the 5th session of the 12th Parliament. Mr. Speaker, sir, during the retreat, the committee took a closer look at the following projects of the national government with a focus on the points of interface with county governments. A, provision of broadband to schools, which is being undertaken through the School Med program in collaboration with the UNICEF. B, the modernization of the Kenya News Agency. And C, the Studio Mashinani project, a collaboration between the national broadcaster and the Ministry of Information, Communication and Technology, ICT. It seeks to develop the local creative industry by enabling young people to tap into their natural creative curiosity and effectiveness by taking recording studios to the grassroots level where the majority of talented youths reside. D, the Presidential Digital Talent Program, PDTP, takes fresh and qualified ICT graduates through an internship program designed to build the ICT capabilities ready for the ICT market. The interns are placed both in government ministries, 10 months, and in the private sector, 2 months. During the program, giving them a holistic understanding of how ICT works, both in the public and private sectors. Ajira Digital Program, the project which has been implemented by KEMSA in in partnership with the Government of Kenya through the Ministry of Information, Communication and Technology. The project aims at bridging the gap between skills, demand and lack of jobs, and further seeks to gather lessons learned to inform the project's scale-up. The Algeria Digital Project seeks to position Kenya as a choice of labor destination for multinational companies, as well as encourage local companies and the public sector to create digital work. The overall objective of the project is to make Kenya a freelance During the retreat, the committee engaged with the semi-autonomous government agencies under its oversight and assessed the sector's achievements and challenges. They are the ICT Authority, B, Communications Authority of Kenya, C, Concert Technopolis Development Authority, D, Government Advertising Agency, E, National Communications Secretariat, F, Communication and Multimedia Appeals Tribunal, G, Kenya Institute of Mass Communication, B, Kenya Film Classification Board, I, Kenya Film Communication, and J, Media Council of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, sir, mobile network connectivity that enables a minimum of second-generation 2G internet connectivity across the country has been the primary commitment of the Committee of the 12th Parliament. To this end, the committee held numerous engagements with the Communication Authority of Kenya in 2020 to oversee the rollout of mobile network connectivity to underserved parts of the country using the Universal Service Fund, USF. I'm happy to report that phase 2 of the connectivity initiative is underway. This phase will provide coverage to 101 sub-locations in 18 counties. Moreover, the Communication Authority has set in motion plans to deploy phase 3 of the project that brings the country to full coverage with no Kenya left behind. Mr. Speaker, sir, in quarter 2 of the calendar year 2021, the committee will be focusing on the following areas. E-education, the committee is conscious of the need for collaborative efforts to build a hybrid educational system in Kenya. It will delve deeper into the various initiatives geared towards e-education, focusing on connectivity to schools throughout consultative meetings with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of ICT. B, data protection continues to take center stage in emerging discourse. The committee will review the draft data protection regulations that will operationalize the Data Provision Act of 2019. And C, in respect of statements pursuant to Standing Order 47, subsection 1, at the sitting of the Senate held on 23rd March 2021, Senator Samson Cherargei, MP, requested a statement from the chairperson of the Standing Committee of ICT on the status of access to information regulations in the Access of Information Act 2016. I thank you.
Okay, Standing Committee, thank you, Senator Moi. Standing Committee on National Security, Defense.
Sema. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations, pursuant to Standing Order 51-1B. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 51 1B to make a statement on the activities of the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations for the period commencing 1st January to 30th June 2021. Mr. Speaker, during the period under review, the committee held a total of 19 sittings, while 2 were joint sittings with the Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights on the county boundaries. We had handled 3 bills and 11 statements, and we had only 1 retreat. In respect of the bills, the committee considered the following, Mr. Speaker. 1, a pre-publication stage, the Military Veteran Bill 2021 on Thursday, 4th March 2021, and recommended its publication. 2, the National Flag Emblem and Names Amendment Bill 2020, and 3, the Disaster Risk Management Bill, Senate Bill number 14 of 2021. Mr. Speaker, the committee during the period under review, the committee considered and finalized with the following statement requests. 1, a statement request by Senator Beatrice Kwamboka, MP, regarding the status of the security along the Kenya borders. The committee considered the response in a meeting attended by the senator who had sought the statement, who expressed her satisfaction with the response as had been received from the Ministry of Interior and the coordination of the national government, and the matter was concluded. 2, the committee considered and finalized consideration of statement request in gathering during a meeting held on Wednesday, 24th March 2021, attended by the Cabinet Secretary of the Ministry of Interior and coordination of the national government through a virtual meeting as follows. Statement sought by Senator Johnson Sakaja, CBS MP, regarding the arrest of Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko. 2, statement by Senator Fatuma Dulo, CBS MP, regarding the alleged armed clashes along the Isiolo-Garissa border and the ongoing operation in Ngare, Mara, Isiolo County. And 3, statements sought by Senator Professor Charles Malakai, MP, regarding the attacks of herders from Turkana County in the neighboring countries. A statement sought by Senator Anwar Loitiptip, MP, regarding the harassment of cyber and movie shops owners in Lamu County. Statement request by the Senator Falhada Deko, MP, regarding rampant police harassment of civilians during enforcement of COVID-19 protocols and guidelines. The statement request by Senator Victor Ringay, MP, regarding the ban of planting of maize in Nasuit, Njoro Sub-County, Nakuru County, by the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government. The statement request by Senator Canon Naomi Wako, MP, regarding the state of the security in Marsabit County. Statement request by Senator Naomi Sionga, MP, regarding the death of Ms. Jacqueline Mungure from a stray bullet. Statement request by Senator Stuart Masayo, MP, regarding police officers the police officer's conduct and the beating of Ms. Kanso Karisa Kalu in Pamba Police Station in Gansek constituency. And lastly, the statement request by Senator Irungu Kangata, MP, regarding the arrest of Senator Susan Kihika and others that occurred in Nakuru on 20th February 2021. In respect of the retreat, the committee participated in a training from 4th to 7th February 2021 in Mombasa on parliamentary diplomacy, and it was facilitated by the Center for Parliamentary Studies and Training, and you were taken through well-researched topics which included principle of governing and international relations, foreign policy, and diplomacy rules in the procedure of diplomacy, instrument of diplomacy, statecraft, and national interest, diplomatic negotiation skills, diplomatic protocol, and etiquette and documents of diplomacy, and skills of tactics in parliamentary diplomacy, which resonates with the mandate of the committee, and recommended the training to all the committee of the Senate, if not Parliament. Mr. Speaker, the committee intends to carry out the following activities during next quarter. 1, hold meetings with the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Interior, and coordination of the national government in an effort to address the ravaging abductions and disappearances of members of the public in the various parts of the country, especially in the northern eastern coastal region of Kenya. And 2, hold a meeting with the Cabinet Secretary to deliberate on the perennial mudslide and landslide which occur in various parts of the country during heavy rains, and how they can be mitigated through the National Disaster System of Kenya. The committee has scheduled a retreat in the month of August, jointly with the Standing Committee of Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights, in an effort to address the perennial country boundaries disputes. The meeting will be attended by the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of the National Government, Cabinet Secretary for Lands, the Chairperson of the National Land Commission, the Chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundary Commission, and the Chairperson of the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. And I thank you.
Chair, thank you, Senator Kisumu Outa. The Chairperson Standing Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industrialization of Tourism, the statement is being delivered by Senator Musuruve.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I read the statement on behalf of my chair, who is away. The statement relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industrialization, pursuant to Standing Order 51-1B, for the period from February to July 2021. Honorable Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 51B to make a statement of the activities of the Standing Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industrialization for the period commencing February to July 2021. Honorable Speaker, sir, During the period under review, the committee has held a total of 36 sittings, considered 5 bills, 3 statements, 1 petition, and 1 legislative proposal. The committee participated in the 6th Annual Circle Leaders Convention that was held on 22nd to 26th February 2021 in Mombasa, and further held a working plan retreat on 16th to 20th March 2021 in Mombasa. On bills, Honorable Speaker, sir, the committee is currently considering the following republished bills. A, the Cooperative Amendment Bill. The committee conducted public participation and further held physical sitting with the targeted stakeholders who included the State Department of Cooperatives, the Commissioner of Cooperative Development, the Kenya Union of Circles and Credit Societies, that is KUSCO, and the Cooperative Alliance of Kenya, CAK, on 3rd April 2021. The committee concluded on the matter and forwarded the amendments for listing in the order paper. B, County Uniform Licensing, that is Uniform Procedure Bill, Senate Bill number 32 of 2020. The committee is considering matrix on stakeholders' submissions following the call for public participation on the bill. C, Street Vendors, in parentheses, Protection of Livelihood Bill, Senate Bill number 7 of 2021. The bill was advertised for public participation, and only one response was received from the National Gender and Equality Commission. The committee has written to the targeted stakeholders to enrich the bill. D, Investment Promotion Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 2 of 2021. The call for public participation has been made and the bill is undergoing public participation. E, Legislative Proposal. The committee received the legislative proposal from East African Tour Guides and Drivers Association seeking to amend the Tourism Act. The legislative proposal and an amendment bill are under review by the Directorate of Legal Services to be sponsored by the committee. On statements, Honorable Speaker, the committee is considering the following statements. A, status of Pan-African paper mills, currently rye paper, was sought by Senator Petronila Were, MP. The committee facilitated a response from the Ministry of Industrialization and Enterprise Development and further invited Senator Petronila Were, MP, and Senator Moses Wetangula, MP, to its sitting held on 19th May 2021, during which further supplementary issues emerged. The committee is following up with the responsible ministry for a comprehensive response on all emerging supplementary issues. B, statement on the non-settlement of claims by Trident Insurance Company Limited was sought by Senator Petronila Were, MP, on behalf of Senator Dr. Michael Mbito, MP, concerning the failure by MS Trident Insurance Company Limited to settle claims. The committee requested for the responses from the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Trade, and the Insurance Regulatory Authority, in parentheses IRA. However, the Insurance Regulatory Authority requested for additional time to submit their report to the committee. C, committee initiated statement on the implementation status of the task force recommendations by the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Tourism, on the state of Kenya Utalii College. The committee received an unsatisfactory response from the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Tourism, and has scheduled a meeting with the said Cabinet Secretary to provide more clarifications on the issues that were raised by the committee. On petitions, Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Article 118 of the Constitution, one petition on the liquidation of Moi University Circle, Musco, in Eldoret, was in Gishu County, that was reported by Senator Professor Margaret Kamar, MP. Upon receipt of the petition, the committee has undertaken extensive stakeholder engagements and received submissions from a wide range of stakeholders and respondents who included the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries and Cooperatives, the State Department of Cooperatives, the Commissioner of Cooperatives, the Circle Societies Regulatory Authority, that is SASRA, the County Executive Government of Uasin Gishu, the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, the Commissioner of Cooperative Development, Cooperative Bank of Kenya, petitioners, and other persons affected by the liquidation of the circle. The committee has finalized the consideration of the petition, and a report of the committee is ready and being processed for tabling in the Senate. 4. Priority areas for the next quarter. Honorable Speaker, sir, going forward, the committee intends to prioritize the following business. 1. Bills. Consideration of the republished bills that had previously been considered by the committee and were affected by the High Court ruling in case number 284 of 2021. 2. Stakeholder engagements. The committee shall prioritize stakeholder engagements with a view to identify specific legislative interventions with regards to key sectors and its mandate on tourism, trade, manufacturing, cooperative and trade agreements, and partnerships between government of Kenya and her regional and global partners. 3. County fact-finding visits. The committee shall undertake county visits to respond to statements sought from the committee and to evaluate the state of the counties within the purview of the committee mandate. 4. Capacity building and training. In order to enhance the capacity of members of the committee to effectively undertake oversight of key mandate areas, the committee shall undertake international level capacity building and training during this financial year 2021 to 2022. Challenges faced by the committee. Honorable Speaker, sir, during the reporting period, the committee identified the urgency to review the standing orders of the Senate in order to align the mandate areas with interrelated sectors. Specifically, the committee sought the intervention of the House leadership to assign the tourism together with the wildlife function. This will facilitate the efficient and effective consideration of all statements sought from the committee relating to tourism and wildlife, noting that the two sectors are interdependent and intertwined. Currently, the two mandate areas are within the purview of two different committees. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and that is our report.
Thank you, Senator Musuruve. The next one is Chairperson Standing Committee on Roads, Transport. Yes, Senator Harugura.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 51(1)B to make a statement on the activities of the Standing Committee on Roads and Transportation for the period commencing 1st January to 30th June 2021. On the committee meetings, Mr. Speaker, sir, during the period under review, the committee held a total of 28 sittings. On the statements, Mr. Speaker, sir, during the period, the following 7 statements were referred to the committee pursuant to Standing Order 48-1. First is the statement regarding upgrading of Loitoktok Njukini Tafeta Road to bitumen standard by Senator Jonas Mwaruma, MP. 2, statement on the refusal by the government of Kenya to approve the application by the Emirates Airlines to increase the passenger flights on the Dubai-Nairobi route by Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. MP. 3rd, statement on the alleged misuse of Kenya shillings 142 billion by Kenha, Kera and Kura by Senator Millicent Omanga MP. 4th, statement regarding the upgrading of Mshomoroni Mwakirunge Road to bitumen standard by Senator Mohamed Faki MP. 5th, statement on outstanding pending bills owed to the small contractors of roads and other related infrastructure projects by Senator Mithika Linturi MP. 6th, statement on the tendering and awarding process for the construction of Lamu Ijara Garissa Road by Senator Samson Cherarke MP. And 7th, statement regarding the seeking of Kenya shillings 14 billion by Kenya Airways as a refund for unused tickets following the cancellation of flights occasioned by the advent of COVID-19 by Senator Samson Cherarke MP. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee also considered a statement pursuant to Standing Order 47-1 by Senator Fred Outa MP regarding demolition of properties and evictions in Kisumu County. On petitions, the first is on eviction and demolition of Buxton Estate. Mr. Speaker, sir, a petition by resident of Buxton Estate in regard to the eviction from and demolition of Buxton Estate Mombasa was referred to the committee, and the matter is being addressed by the committee. The committee has engaged the petitioners, and the matter is ongoing with a scheduled visit to the site and meeting with the county government of Mombasa and the developer of the redevelopment project. Second, petition concerning access to title deeds for properties bought by Jamii Bora Estate, Kisaju, Kajiado County. Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee is in the process of engaging petitioners and stakeholders in regard to the petition concerning access to title deeds for properties bought at Jamii Bora Estate, Kisaju, Kajiado County. Mr. Speaker, sir, on challenges, Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee considered the budget policy statement for the financial year 2021-2022 and observed that the conditional grant on the roads maintenance levy fund was appropriated as equitable share to the counties. This policy shift has tremendous risk and challenges on maintenance of roads and associated infrastructure, since there is no guarantee that the counties will appropriate similar funds as has been previously allocated to them regarding to repair and maintain the road network. Lastly, on recommendations, the committee proposes to engage the Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development and Public Works on proposed policy intervention to ensure that the road network in the counties is adequately maintained. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, next order.
Order number 8, the Community Health Services Bill, Senate Bills number 34 of 2020.
That one is deferred next week.
Order number 9, the Investment Promotion Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 2 of 2021. Second reading.
Yeah, this is open for debate. Okay, Honorable Senators, we are on order number 9, the Investment Promotion Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 2 of 2021, to the resumption of debate, but I don't see any interest, so we proceed. Since there is no interest, it's set for division, so we'll also divide, do it for the division. Next order.
Order number 10, the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 33 of 2020, second reading.
Senator Mutula Kilozo Jr.
Thank you, Speaker. I rise to support the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Amendment Bill by Senator Zani. I think at the beginning and the onset, I must thank the industry of Senator Zani in preparing these bills. She challenges all of us to be hardworking, irrespective of the problems we have with these bills. Mr. Speaker, the amendment proposed by Senator Zani Mr. Speaker, also attempts to comply in Section 7 with the decision of the Judge Mativo in terms of service of processes in Parliament. The previous Section 7, Mr. Speaker, was declared unconstitutional insofar as it protected and sought to give us immunity in terms of service and access to process servers into Parliament. Mr. Speaker, therefore, for those who violate the law and are subject to court process, Mr. Speaker, the process servers will have access to Parliament to serve any processes that are necessary. The second part interests me a lot, Madam Speaker. Senator Zani seeks to get the decisions and resolutions of this House complied with and reports sent back to the Parliament with regard to resolutions we have made. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, there is, I remember, a petition drafted by one of us which seeks to get the implementation committee back as one of the committees of Parliament. Madam Speaker, the purpose of that committee is to follow up on resolutions of the Senate insofar as the executive is concerned, judiciary and other arms of government of state. Madam Speaker, this is actually the solution. The solution is to get a report through an act of Parliament as opposed to a committee. Madam Speaker, as we speak, even after making determinations on the Solidum tragedy, we have never received responses from the respective organs of government. Madam Speaker, CPIC sits every day to make resolutions. We never receive responses from the respective organs of government in terms of the resolutions you have made. This is a solution. In fact, some time back, after visiting the Senate of Australia, some of us are of the view that we should include in Parliamentary Privileges Act, Madam Speaker, something we call contempt of parliament. Contempt of parliament is where a resolution is made to a respective cabinet secretary and that cabinet secretary does not respond, or that cabinet secretary, Madam Speaker, does not seek to implement a resolution of the Senate. Now, if an order is issued by a court, and this is the answer to what Senator Zani is trying to resolve. If the Constitution, where the Constitution says under Article 125, Madam Speaker, that we are a High Court, we should have powers to jail. We should have powers, Madam Speaker, to declare contempt where contempt has been found. The former president of South Africa, Jacob Zuma, is now serving term for contempt of court. If we act as a court, we must have the power to have contempt. And it is through the resolutions of the Senate that we can find cabinet secretaries or respective organs of government to have violated our resolutions. We appreciate the work that the clerk is doing. We appreciate the reminders he is doing to cabinet secretaries and arms of government in respect to our resolutions. But I'm afraid they are not effective or powerful enough to find action points. Part of the reason we were supporting having cabinet secretaries in Parliament was because some of these problems we are having today would be solved if cabinet secretaries were sitting as elected leaders and some of them sitting in Parliament, because then we would question them on the floor. They would answer to Kenyans on the floor. But cabinet secretaries in this current government are so busy for Parliament that when we call them, they have something more important than to answer to the people who elected us on respective matters that we have asked. And so, Madam Speaker, as I support this amendment, let me reiterate that this is part of the amendments that was done a long time ago and suffered the fate of Civil Appeal number 284, petition number 284 of 2019 that we filed in court. And I hope that this matter, now that it has concurrence of the Speaker of the National Assembly, it will see the light of day when it goes to the our sister house, the National Assembly. So, Madam Speaker, this falls squarely, this amendment, and particularly 23B, 23C, 23D, and E, fall squarely under the things that we have been asking for in terms of making sure that our resolutions are not just pieces of paper, are resolutions that can be acted upon by whoever it is we have issued a recommendation against. I support. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Wambua Enoch.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to first congratulate Senator Zani for coming up with this very wonderful amendment to the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Bill. Madam Speaker, before I even get to the subject matter of the bill, it shall be remembered that last week, this House, Madam Speaker, took some time to talk about the issues of action or inaction in as far as resolutions and recommendations by this House are concerned to relevant government officials in the executive. Madam Speaker, I want to say that this bill provides a broad answer to that question. The question of whether a House of Parliament in the Republic of Kenya can legislate or make resolutions in vain. Now, Speaker, what this bill for me does is that it does two very, very important things. That it makes it mandatory that once a resolution is made by any house of parliament, that resolution must be directed to a specific officer within a given period of time, within 7 days. So that is not even open-ended. Within 7 days, a responsible officer must receive a resolution of either the Senate or the National Assembly. But Mr. Speaker, the second thing that this bill does, and really makes me very happy, is that it puts an obligation on the officer to do two things. One, to give status report to the relevant committee and the house that has made a resolution on the implementation of the said resolution. And secondly, it imposes a fine and a jail term for breach of the provisions of the bill. Madam Speaker, I think if there is a bill that we need to fast track, then this is that bill. Madam Speaker, last week as we discussed issues of implementation of resolutions of the Senate, there was a lot of debate, heated debate, and contributions from members seeking to have the implementation committee returned to the House to follow up on resolutions. And you remember, Madam Speaker, the matter at hand that time was a resolution of this House that was first passed in the last Parliament on the payment of former councillors. And Madam Speaker, the term of the last Parliament elapsed. The 12th Parliament came in through statements and motions. One of those statements brought by me and a motion brought by Senator Kenywa. This House resolved that the former councillors should be paid a one-off honorarium and a monthly stipend. Madam Speaker, that resolution is lying somewhere in the shelves of government offices. It is my hope, Madam Speaker, that once this bill goes through, then certain things like those ones, like the payments for councillors, shall be resolved immediately, maybe even backdated, to ensure that people get justice. And it's not just about councillors alone. It is about almost everything that we do in this House. We have passed a lot of resolutions. We have made a lot of decisions through bills, through motions, through statements, petitions. But Madam Speaker, the recommendations have just been made to gather dust in shelves of government offices. And Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. has mentioned the issue of Solai Dam, where very strict recommendations were made. But today, it's just another story. Nothing has happened. I hope that by passing this bill, Madam Speaker, then justice will be served to Kenyans, and that people in government offices, especially the executive, will begin to take the work of Parliament a lot more seriously. Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I support.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Hargura Kodana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I'd like to thank Senator Sani for coming up with these important amendments to the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act. Madam Speaker, for some time as committees we have been making recommendations, especially sitting in CPIC. Sometimes we even ask government organizations like EACC to take up some issues, DCI to do investigations in our reports which we table in this House, but it ends there. So I support this amendment because it gives very clear procedure, very clear timelines. Sometimes we can make that recommendation here, but because there is nothing, even mandating the clerk to communicate to the officers, then it might even be lying within Senate. It may not even have left here. But now it's very clear that the clerks of the relevant house have to write to the relevant officer within 7 days of that report being adopted by the House. And from there then, the officer who is required to act needs to act within the time stipulated in the standing orders. We need to look at the standing orders. Does it give that stipulation? Because the law, the amendment talks of within the time stipulated in the standing orders. Do we have those timelines in the standing orders where the public officers are supposed to reply back to the parliamentary committees? We need to check that. Then it's very clear that the officer has to give a report within that time, a progress report on what actions have been taken, and if no action, then why, the reason for the inaction, what are the challenges they have, so that the committee, the relevant committee, have to understand. And in the event that the officer just refuses to obey the law, then it also very clearly states the failure to comply, that there are consequences, fine of not exceeding 500,000 or a term not exceeding, jail term not exceeding 6 months. It makes it very clear that the officers will be responsible as individuals when they don't take parliamentary work seriously. I support and I hope that this bill goes through and it becomes an act, then we can rely on it to enforce most of these decisions which we make here, which are supposed to be implemented by government officers. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Kura. Senator Cheriot, Aaron Gipuru.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance to make my contribution to this bill. The Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act Amendment Bill of 2020, a bill by our colleague, Senator Dr. Agnes Zani. Madam Speaker, this is a very progressive bill for those of us who are lovers of a progressive parliament and will wish to see parliament secure its place in our democracy, especially given the place of pride that Kenyans allocated parliament in the 2010 constitution. Madam Speaker, if you read through this bill, and it's a very brief bill, Madam Speaker, which anyone can read through and understand what Senator Dr. Agnes Zani wants to achieve, and I believe all of us should support her in achieving this, then, Madam Speaker, you'll realize that indeed longevity has its place in terms of growth as a parliamentarian. It is only somebody who's been in this parliament for the kind of period that Dr. Zani has been who begins to ask themselves, what is the place of parliament in terms of the resolutions, the bills of parliament? You know, it's not for lack of good laws, Madam Speaker, that Kenya, for example, is where it is. But our weakness, our Waterloo as a republic has been found to be in the space of either implementation or follow through on what has been agreed upon. This is a proper follow through, Madam Speaker, trying to ensure that when a house passes a resolution, that when an act of parliament, when a bill of parliament has been secured into an act and promulgated into one, Madam Speaker, that then it achieves the purpose for which it was intended to, Madam Speaker. As things stand today, you can name so many brilliant reports that we have done as a Senate. But unfortunately, Madam Speaker, once the House adopts, either as has been proposed or even sometimes as might be the case with amendments, Madam Speaker, that becomes the end of that particular report, and it is often quoted. Yet a parliamentary report, a resolution of this House, is actually a constitutional, not even a statutory provision. It's a constitutional provision, because that is what our constitution expects of us, that immediately a House resolves, then it is considered to be the law of the land. I do not believe, Madam Speaker, that it was the thoughts of the crafters of our constitution that that force of law is only in acts of parliament. that even in resolutions of reports of committees, that even when a member rises to seek a statement and the speaker gives direction and the house agrees with the speaker, then it has the force of law. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, due to the loophole that is now being sealed by our colleague Senator Dr. Agnes Zani, many things have not been resolved as Parliament will have wished. And I can quote many reports that we know when a particular matter came up, any particular sector. Madam Speaker, in fact, I was struggling when I was reading this particular bill to think of any sector in this country that currently is faced with various challenges for which Parliament has not spent taxpayers' money to either investigate and come up with a report. But where are those reports? What is the implementation status, Madam Speaker? It is until you set up an office such as the one that is being proposed in this particular bill, Madam Speaker, that you will have somebody that you can hold responsible and charge them with that particular responsibility and say, it is your duty to ensure, for example, that once we passed a law, once we passed a resolution as a house on a particular matter, once a committee report has indicted, say, a particular officer, within 7 days, as is being proposed in this particular bill, that particular person is informed and they know this is what Parliament expects them to do. Therefore, I congratulate my colleague, Senator Zani, Madam Speaker, because of this very good proposal. Because indeed, Madam Speaker, you see, in our constitutional order, and I have made this point on many occasions when I've debated in this House, Madam Speaker, is that Parliament is a first organ that the people donated power to. And as an institution, it is open to interpretation and debate out there of how much we have exercised that power. That the gathering of a House of Parliament such as what we have this afternoon is a gathering of the 50 million Kenyans. But because you cannot secure enough space for the 50 million of us to fit in one place, you send a representative in the form of a senator representing a particular county. And you even gave them as much power, saying each county carries the equivalent of one vote. That is how important the place of Parliament is, Madam Speaker. That tells you that whenever we sit and we deliberate on issues that affects the lives of the people that we represent, Madam Speaker, as a House, then it is expected that the rest of the arms of government and the Republic will stand guided, Madam Speaker. This comes at a very interesting time. If you read the newspapers, for example, today, Madam Speaker, you will see that the Chief Justice, I don't know if that communication was given because I saw it in the newspapers today, that the newly sworn in Chief Justice has sent a stinging letter, I don't know whether it's true or it could be the exaggeration of the media, to both houses of Parliament saying that very soon judicial officers are not going to be coming to Parliament at the whims or the invitation. I'd wish to read that letter, Madam Speaker, because I don't want to rely on newspaper articles alone. But I believe that the Chief Justice understands and knows the place of Parliament in our country, Madam Speaker. She knows what is expected each time a public officer is summoned. In fact, I dare say that to the workers or to the public officers who serve in the judiciary, they should treat whatever advice or whatever discussions that may have arisen out of that letter, but understand that culpability is individual. I do not think it is institutional. If, for example, there is an audit query on you as a public officer and you've been invited before a House of Parliament, I do not foresee a situation where an institution can direct a particular individual and say, you cannot appear before the House of Parliament. Because eventually, if that committee moves on and writes the report and the House adopts it, then to turn on or to change whatever recommendations they'll have made will not be an easy task, Madam Speaker. Of course, as the arms of as the three arms of government, the Constitution is a constitutional doctrine that we are supposed to work in consultations and with good cooperation, the way we have always done. I believe we have invited many members of executive. Sometimes you find on one occasions where they've been invited to appear before two committees at the same time, or even before both houses at the same time. But it suffices when you send an invite because it shows goodwill, it shows cooperation, it shows that you respect the place of Parliament in our democracy. that you understand that when Parliament has made a resolution on a particular matter, that is the agreed or the general position of the people of Kenya on a particular issue. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I do wish to propose that once we are done with this particular bill and it has gone through the normal procedures and processes of Parliament, that it quickly becomes part of our laws. And it will be good to give it a test with the many resolutions that this Senate will pass on account of various public officers, such as the directions that have been given on key national issues, Madam Speaker, which unfortunately nobody has had the time to follow through. And you understand how, as members of Parliament, you have got to balance between your work, the work that you do here in Parliament, and what you have to do in the constituency, and so many things end up slipping through despite what you have said. It is my sincere hope, Madam Speaker, that once this particular bill becomes law, then that will become a thing of the past. Therefore, I congratulate our colleague, Senator Dr. Zani, for thinking this through and give it my 100% support, because it will give the proper place of Parliament in our democracy once it's enforced. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Cheriot. Senator Wako Setswila Amos.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to speak on this amendment. Madam Speaker, first let me congratulate Senator Agnes Zani for having brought this amendment. In a sense, Madam Speaker, it's a pity that we have had to come up with this amendment, because in any society, democratic and constitutional society, public officers are supposed to act on these issues without being forced to act on these issues. It should really be part of fair administration, part of constitutionalism for a public officer to act in good faith on the resolutions passed by Parliament. There is no need, really, where that is happening, to go in the details that he must, otherwise you suffer a penalty. Otherwise, you have committed an offense. And that's why, as I congratulate Zani, I'm also sad that we have come to this stage. These are matters which we ought not to have come to this stage. We ought not to have come to a stage where the resolutions of Parliament are ignored as a matter of course, to an extent where Parliament now has to come up with an implementation committee to follow up on the various resolutions of the House and see how far they have been implemented. That is sad, Madam Speaker. And even with that, nothing happens. It takes a stick, and this is what Madam Zani has now come up with. A stick now to say, if you do not do this, then you're committing an offense, then you'll be liable for either fine or even a penalty of imprisonment. So, Madam Speaker, I do support this. As I support this, Madam Speaker, let me just hope that there will be some clarification. I take what the young and dynamic senator from Kericho has said about resolutions of the House. But not all resolutions of the House are, a number of resolutions of the House are not there for implementation. They are recommendations for the executive to consider whether or not to implement, and if to implement, how to implement them. That distinction, Madam Speaker, has not been made here, because there are some resolutions which are mandatory and which must be obeyed. For example, if the Constitution says that a particular officer can only be appointed on approval of the House, and the House by resolution passes, says approved or not approved, that must be obeyed. But even there we have seen cases where approval has not been given, but persons have been nevertheless been appointed. Madam Speaker. So those are clear cases where a resolution must be obeyed. But it could be a resolution which is just a recommendation. But although it's just a recommendation, a resolution of the House must be taken seriously because we are the voice of the people according to the Constitution. We are the voice of the people who are sovereign. And therefore, if you pass a resolution, it shows that it's a serious matter which must be seriously considered. And in most of the cases should be actually be implemented. Although there's that just some narrowness there that the executive may, in an appropriate case, not implement that particular resolution. So this, maybe when you're in committee stage, I think the part of the response of the public officer that is not what steps he has taken to implement the action, but it may very well be that part of the response of the public officer would be that this is a resolution which the government at this moment cannot implement. A public officer. But what we require is a response. Now they just keep quiet. Nobody knows what's happening. You are ignored. And yet we are a house representing the people. And I think this is a mischief that Senator Agnes Zani wanted to stop. So I support this, but I hope that with that slight nuance in the committee stage, you can come up with some slight just amendment that the response can very well be that at this point in time, the government cannot, it's not the opportunity to implement, but can implement this resolution another time, rather than just keeping quiet and the chairman of the committee chasing up the accounting officers and nothing is happening and we just waste time and we are like a house which is rudderless, which is powerless, which is toothless. So with those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I support.
Thank you, Senator Wako. Senator Mary Yane.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for also giving me a chance to add my voice on this very important bill. And from the onset, I want to congratulate Senator Dr. Zani for this very timely bill. Madam Speaker, Parliament, through committees, do quite a lot of work. Parliament investigates and gets good reports, and they also write very nice resolutions, which at the end of the day, they are not implemented. So this bill, if it goes through, will be able to force institutions, parastatals, independent institutions and commissions. They will force them to be able to write reports and report back the implementation of resolutions that are done through parliamentary committees. Madam Speaker, quite a lot of reports and petitions are concluded in the House, but quite a number of them are not implemented. I remember one time when I was in the Energy Committee, we had a report and some resolutions that we wrote about oil spillage in Kiboko, Makueni. We did very nice resolutions. And up to today, quite a number of those resolutions that we wrote to help the community have not been implemented to date. And therefore, this bill, this amendment, will be able to help Parliament to be able to oversight the work that they have done. They will be able to follow up what has been done to the community, what has been done to different persons and different organizations that bring their petitions here. And it will also save taxpayers' money that we use in Parliament to sit down and do reports and do resolutions that are later on not implemented. So I therefore say that this is a timely bill. If it goes through, this will be a good measure to be able to help Parliament in terms of the implementation. Madam Speaker, this bill also seeks to give penalty for failure to report to Parliament on the resolutions of different reports. I think this will also help us to be able to call to accountability different government institutions and different commissions, and it will also be another avenue to also help us even to take into account what has been done and what has not been done and what needs to be done, so that we are able to address those gaps within the implementation of parliamentary resolutions. I therefore support this bill, and I also want to pray that it will be passed in the National Assembly so that it can be able to help Parliament in terms of oversight. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Saneta. Senator Ilima Ketrut Musurube.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair, for giving me the chance to support this statement and to really congratulate Senator Dr. Zani for coming up with a bill that ensures that whatever work we do here is not in vain. Honorable Speaker, the people of this country have the right. They have the right constitutionally when it comes to Article 1. We see that sovereign power belongs to the people of this country. And since sovereign power belongs to the people of this country, they can actually exercise, the democratic right either individually or through their representative. So, Honorable Speaker, it is in Parliament that they are able to exercise this democratic right. They have actually elected their members of Parliament who they have faith in and who they believe will represent them and represent them effectively, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, just to say on the floor of this House, when it comes to the standing order, the standing orders actually provide the rules under which we can do our business, we can conduct our business in the House in an orderly manner and so on. But there's some little bit of lacuna because it does not overtly really tell what happens to various state organs when they're not able to implement what the same Parliament has come up with. The resolutions of Parliament concerning the many issues that come to the floor of this House. Honorable Speaker, many people come with statements here. Many people come with petitions here. And we deliberate on the floor of this House, Honorable Speaker. And sometimes, and many times even, we see chairs, coming, giving reports on what we have agreed on, Honorable Speaker. But when it comes to resolutions, effecting the resolutions of what Parliament has said, it becomes really an issue. So that is the lacuna that this bill is addressing. And I want to thank Senator Dr. Zani for thinking through this, because our work should not be in vain, Honorable Speaker. If a CS or of any ministry is actually given reports of what we have come up with, the CS should ensure that he is implementing the reports, Honorable Speaker, because we are not implementers, we are legislators, we make laws, and we are able to deliberate on issues that should actually find favor in the various offices, especially in the executives, in the executive offices, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when it comes to even giving responses, there should be an orderly way, a structure that ensures that the CSS or the government ministries are, working on the reports from Parliament, because this is our mandate, and people have faith in Parliament to resolve their issues, whatever issue that is at hand. So, Honorable Speaker, I thank Dr. Azani, Senator Azani, because this bill, when it eventually becomes law, will ensure that whatever Parliament deliberates on, it is, action. Action has been arrived. And if no action is arrived, Honorable Speaker, it means that even the state officers will actually be, will be made to answer. Because according to this bill, an officer is supposed to be assigned to deal with these issues. And if an officer is assigned, if he gets a pay end month, he needs to do a good job for the money that is paid end month. And so there's need for even the officers, who are supposed to do this, handle these issues, to be committed to their work. Honorable Speaker, sometimes responses come to the floor of this House. And I'm sorry to say that some responses we get are just like desk responses. Like someone has just sat in his office and decided, I'm going to communicate this, and this is the report that will go, the answer that will go. Or maybe sometimes it is just like, a coffee response, where people have met over a cup of coffee and decided we have received this information and we're giving a response. But this is a serious House. When it comes to issues of Parliament, Parliament is serious business for the people of this republic, simply because they have elected their people, and they know that their people are going to defend them, to support them effectively, because power is in the hands of people. Honorable Speaker, I want to support and to thank Senator Zani for coming up with this relevant bill when it comes to our task in legislation. Honorable Speaker, I also want to say that we need to also ensure that this bill does not lapse. Because if it lapses, then whatever work we are going to do as a Parliament will actually be in vain. But our work should not be in vain, Honorable Speaker. When it comes to bills, they should not be delegated. When it comes to issues that we are addressing as Parliament, they should not be delegated. The real office that has been given that assignment should seriously undertake the thoughts of Parliament and ensure that the responses they are giving is satisfactory. The response should not be a response that is begging, a response that will wonder what is happening, will make Parliament wonder what is actually happening. When we look at the Constitution, Article 153B, actually, the Cabinet Secretary is supposed to give a report of what is happening in his docket on a regular basis, to Parliament. But sometimes I wonder, Honorable Speaker, how many times do Cabinet Secretaries decide, I want to give Parliament, a report of what is happening in my docket. If it's, the Ministry of Agriculture, I just give Parliament, this is what is happening. If it's Ministry of Education, if it's Ministry of Devolution. Instead, we see very many questions coming, very many petitions coming, very many statements coming from Wananchi. And when statements come, it means that the issues of people are not being addressed. Because if issues of people are being addressed, then the petitions will be minimal. The statements also will be minimal. So, Honorable Speaker, we have to ensure that we are supporting this statement, this bill from Senator Dr. Zani, and ensure that it sees light of the day so that eventually it becomes bill. I support this statement, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Musuruve. Senator Mahmoud Mohammed Malim.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Let me also join my colleagues in congratulating Senator Dr. Zani for introducing this bill. This is a very timely bill, Madam Speaker, because it addresses the issue of action taken on parliamentary resolutions by the executive. Madam Speaker, Parliament should not act in vain, because resolutions and recommendations that are made on, from the Houses of Parliament are addressed to the executive, who Parliament oversights. Madam Speaker, if those resolutions and recommendations are not acted upon, then it will mean that there is a serious gap So this bill is trying to bridge that gap, ensuring that resolutions and recommendations of Parliament are acted upon. Resolutions are actually mandatory, but recommendations are also what the executive should look and see how they can put in their policy. Madam Speaker, I totally agree with this bill, the introduction of Part 6A, which is very timely, and of course the amendment of Section 7, the Principal Act, Section 7, to ensure that there is no conflict between the law and the way the High Court ruled. Madam Speaker, resolutions of Parliament, I think, having been in the Parliament for the third time now, I think a lot of work is being done by Parliament through committees and actually tabled in the House and passed, but implementation is the problem. In fact, in this House, there was, when I was in House Business Committee, there was talk of introducing implementation committee. I know there's a committee of that time in the National Assembly, but even then, because executive doesn't take work of Parliament seriously, it has been difficult to implement. So I think when it's put in law, at least we are taking it a step further, so that resolutions of Parliament are actually implemented, because in that way Parliament will not be seen to be acting in vain. I think we should pass this bill so that we try to give effect to whatever you do in Parliament, because the executive is oversighted by the Parliament, and there's no reason why resolutions which are passed by Parliament are not respected and adhered to and followed and implemented by the executive. I think more than having implementation committee, this particular bill will solve that problem of implementation. So, Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I beg to support.
Thank you, Senator Mahmood. Senator Nyamunga Rose Ogendo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I want to support this amendment to the Powers and Privileges Act, the bill that has been brought to this House by Senator Dr. Zani. And I would like to join my colleagues in the issues that I have raised. Madam Speaker, this is a very important House. Parliament is a very important House. We take a lot of time doing research, and there's a lot of communication between this House and members of the public, meaning that any statement that we make, bring to this House, or any petition, or any bill or motion, actually all these things are done in this, for the sake of the people of Kenya. But we cannot just be a talk house, where we talk and go away. We pass very good bills and nothing happens to them. So I really want to support this amendment that allows Parliament to have a follow-through to all the bills and all the recommendations that are made in this House. And that now makes us think about the committee that has been touted for a very long time in this House, the Committee on Implementation on implementation, because the moment we have that bill, even if we cannot start it and end it now, because we are almost at the tail end of the current Parliament, I think that is one thing that we should think about very seriously, and even start the process of having an implementation committee, because we do a lot of work, we do very good debates. And whatever we say in this House, really it is meant for the good of the nation and the people of Kenya. So if we would just be doing this thing for the sake of it, and thinking that we want to see our people, I want to see Kisumu people, that I'm saying doing a lot of work in this House, yet it doesn't go to help or to change the situation. If somebody brings a statement in this, a petition, and we just talk about the petition, debate on it, and then we leave it there, it doesn't help anybody. But if we have a mechanism whereby there is a follow-up, and after following up, we take it to the end, meaning that the executive or any department of the government which is supposed to deal with it actually deals with it, that is when we will have done our work. So I want to support this the amendment by Senator Zani, and say that it is very timely, we as a house, and not only in this house, even in the National Assembly, there's a lot of work going on in the two houses, but it is good always to bring the work that we do to very good conclusion, and more so for the benefit of the people of Kenya. So I support Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Nyamunga. Senator Sakaja, Johnson, Ada.
Thank you. Whenever you see Senator Zani has proposed something, you can be sure it's thought of. It's well thought out and necessary. She has distinguished herself over the last 2 terms of being very, very thoughtful of the processes of Parliament and indeed legislation that is meaningful. Madam Speaker, what we're seeing happening currently in many respects, including what Senator Aaron Cheriot was talking about, where the judiciary is writing, there's this institutional tensions where everybody now is trying to claim their space. And the judiciary is saying that oversight has been paused until some agreements are reached. Madam Speaker, it's Parliament, really, because we're in a parliamentary democracy, that should, in essence, exert itself better. And exert itself in a way, because the power in Article 1, the exercise of sovereignty is supreme. In fact, the only 2 ways Kenyans exercise their sovereignty, directly or through their elected representatives. The judiciary has no elected representatives. And even their appointment, one or another, has to do with Parliament. So, Madam Speaker, I think it is important for us as the direct expression, because all Kenyans cannot meet together to make decisions or to make resolutions every day. That is the work we're doing. And we need to have that perspective as members of Parliament, that what you're doing is indeed on behalf of the sovereign of this country, which is the people of Kenya. So, Madam Speaker, it must be clear that resolutions, therefore, of the people are not suggestions. Resolutions of the people are not, just made or to be taken lightly, that the government can consider if it feels like or does not consider. Madam Speaker, resolutions of Parliament are binding, and they're binding on the state officers and public officers to which those resolutions are made, Madam Speaker. Our problem, and I'm glad I've seen some of the provisions in this bill by Senator Zani, is really the attitude that certain departments in government have towards, or rather in the executive, because we're also government, have towards Parliament. Because you'll find in the same cabinet, there are certain ministers or ministries that are very, very, receptive and respectful to Parliament and its proceedings. Madam Speaker, in the committees that I've been in and the committee I chair, I'll give you an example. The CS of Labour is extremely responsive, CS Chelugui, and I must single him out. Of all the issues we've had to deal with, he even goes beyond, beyond the normal call to respond. CS Amina as well. The CAS of Treasury, Gashuye, when we've been dealing with these pension issues. Because, Madam Speaker, as much as we must call out those who are not doing the right thing, we must appreciate also those who are doing their job. CAS Gashuye in Treasury, CAS Obure have been very, very useful. But others, I don't know where they sit. Because there's almost contempt and spite or disdain to elected leaders. And they forget that it is the process of getting those elected leaders that they get into office because they're not from Parliament. Madam Speaker, this is why the calls that have been there previously for ministers to come back from Parliament are very popular, not just amongst parliamentarians, but among the people. Because members of Parliament and elected leaders go through these issues, they understand, they interact with the people, and they interact with the members who are representing other areas. If Senator Mutula was a minister, today I had an issue in Nairobi, even after this sitting, I can ask him, why don't we solve this issue? But before you send a letter that needs 7 days and for them to come and respond, and they bring a letter postponing, and then when they come, they take you around in circles, we end up shortchanging and disenfranchising the voter who wants decisions made. Madam Speaker, this House has made resolutions. Right now, my committee is following up the second resolution on the same issue, on former councillors. We already resolved. The last Parliament resolved. This Senate resolved. And when you see what they're doing, they're taking out, they say, there's a task force, and the task force said this, and then such that, Senator Zani, I think part of what you should have put in is not just that they respond and report. They can give you government reports. You know how government reports are. They'll take you around in circles. That a task force was formed to look into this, and therefore we shall report, or we shall do this when funds allow. They have reported, they have not gone against the law, but they have done nothing. So we need to tighten that these responses and reports must be, they must be able to be effected, and they must be specific. Madam Speaker, we passed a resolution in this House about evictions when Kariobangi was happening. Madam Speaker, and at that time I remember they were going to do evictions in Langata at Royal Park. I'm glad that one was halted, and I want to thank government for listening to that. But today we're hearing that there's more planned evictions in Eastlands during the pandemic. You have to resolve that during a pandemic you cannot just execute such demolitions and evictions, Madam Speaker. That just shows that disdain and a lack of respect, not of us, but of the people. Whenever I go to an office, I say, it's not me who's coming. It is 4.3 million Nairobians who I am elected to represent. So, and it's never for anything personal, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we passed resolutions on Solai Dam. After more than 42 children died, we went there. We have huge reports. In fact, Senator Mutula is about to become a librarian because he has huge reports in his office. But action is not there. So sometimes even when we speak about issues, we understand the frustration of the public because they say, you guys, all you do is talk. It is true, our work is to talk. That's why it's parliament, from the root word of parlance, to parley. But that talk must translate into action by the executive. And I wish we put an enforcement mechanism. Yes, we put a fine of $500,000 or imprisonment, but we should be able to execute it as parliament. Because when you tell the police to go and arrest the CS of Interior, of course they would not arrest. Even the courts have called them out for contempt. They can't do it. So they sit pretty in those, or whichever CS it is. Madam Speaker, we need to put an enforcement mechanism. And I wish it was our sergeant at arms who are being told to enforce what you call contempt of parliament. The contempt of parliament must be in the penal code. It must be a crime. It must be punishable because it's contempt of the people. Madam Speaker, we need to make sure that even as we do our oversight, we also do it in a respectful way. Sometimes I've been sympathetic when you look at some of the inquiries that happen, and you see now, because this media thing is bad. People come to play to the gallery. So you see, once the cameras come in, members of parliament or senators wanting to shoot tough questions to look like they, to shine, also puts us in bad state. So even as we insist on oversight, let us be professional as parliamentarians. Let's stick to issues. Let's not personalize things when we're dealing with the executive. And I think that respect then will be reciprocated. Because when you say it's an issue that we're dealing with, this is a resolution passed, where are we? But when you come and use insulting words, sometimes I'm embarrassed, even as a senator, and I'm very happy. Madam Speaker, in my committees, or the committees I've chaired, and the committee I chair, people like Senator Milgo, Senator Kwamboka, extremely respectful. You'll never hear people shouting at guests or at witnesses, or trying to pass points. Bonga points can be found on the weekend, in rallies, but not during committee proceedings. So, large members, let us also, as we demand, as we ask for respect from the executive, let us also be respectful and stick to the issues. Madam Speaker, I reported last week on that task force and I'm glad the CS Chelugui called. We have agreed next week to at least bring a resolution to this House on the issue of former councillors and their honorarium. Madam Speaker, I've asked questions here in respect to the city of Nairobi. We've not gotten responses. And I hope that this will actually be able to be implemented. Senator Zani, I hope during the committee stage, you can tolerate some amendments to make it enforceable. Yesterday I was on TV, Madam Speaker, about AGPO. In 2015, I brought amendments on the access to government procurement opportunities, where our young people, women, and persons with disability should be getting 30% of contracts. Madam Speaker, if there's one law that has been ignored, that has been seen as a mere suggestion, it is the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act, which provides for 30%. All these issues we're hearing today, people bringing different economic philosophies, others saying bottom up, others saying we want to, rural first, would not be an issue if just AGPO was followed. You can imagine if county governments and national government put aside 30% of the value of procurement in the hands of women and men and persons with disability, and Section 157 of that law is very clear. For instance, in Nairobi, as a county government, I'd be able to give, when I become governor, Madam Speaker, God willing, out of a budget of 40 billion, and you go to what is being procured, Senator Kwamboka will tell you 100 million shillings in every ward, Madam Speaker. 100 million. There'll be no crime. The crime rate will go down. Madam Speaker, you will sort out those businesses at the lowest level. Instead of saying that now you want to come and give us a fund where we just give money to hustlers or whatever. That won't work. That's not sustainable. But when you build businesses and you enable those young people to actually procure, not all young people just want to do a car wash or to get a machine. They want to do business. They want to do business with the Ministry of Defense. They want to start industry. They want to start companies. They want to manufacture those wheelbarrows. They want to manufacture that equipment. And Madam Speaker, if we just implemented it, and in that law, and I wish Senator Shionga was here, or somebody from that committee on equalization, if you look at Section 157 of the Public Procurement Asset Disposal Act, it says that every procuring entity at the national and county level must be given a list of which contracts they have given to youth, women, persons with disability, and how much to the Procurement Regulatory Authority, which reports to Parliament through the Committee of Equalization. In fact, that's probably the only law that is specific about which committee. Senator Shionga in a committee, and I heard them talking about the activities, should be tabling here a list saying Makueni County is not giving, or it's giving young people. The Ministry of Labor or Ministry of Defense is not giving young people and women opportunities. And this ministry is doing it. But when you look at laws as just mere suggestions, Madam Speaker, we will try and amend things. We will come here with the new bills. We will try and change the constitution. There will be this BBI, there will be BBI 2 in the next government, 3. Because our problem is not just the laws we have, but our attitude when it comes to implementing. The problem is not constitution, it's constitutionalism. The problem is the rule of law, how we look at what we have. We don't need anything new, Madam Speaker. So I will urge members to support this law, this bill by Senator Zani, and I will ask the other arms of government that, you know, in a constitutional democracy as we do have, there is no arm of government that is above the other. No arm of government looks up for affirmation, but we look sideways to move together. The executive needs the judiciary. The judiciary needs Parliament. When you start asking, you remember when you saw fights with the National Assembly, our neighbors, we used to say, no, it is very defeatist to keep saying which house is the upper house, which is the lower house, which is the bigger house. It is like a bird which is flying, asking which wing is more important, the left wing or the right wing. You need both wings for you to fly, and you need each other. We must all remember, whether you're in the judiciary or a judge, whether you're a minister or a CAS or a PS, a member of parliament, MCA, that we are serving the same people. And so when we have concerted effort, Madam Speaker, we would not even need such a law that Senator Zani is bringing. But because of bad manners, and because of, you know, some people get a seat, it goes to your head, you think now you're the one, how do you say it in English? In quotes. You're the one who says. You're the one who is saying. Then no one will tell you. But I tell my friends, you know, the term of this government is ending in 300 and something days. Yeah. We'll go back to the people. We'll have to explain what we've been able to do and what we've not been able to do, Madam Speaker. And so let us have that attitude, Madam Speaker, when it comes to respecting resolutions that have come from the people of Kenya through the elected representatives. I support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Sakaja. That brings us to the end of the debate. I would now like to call on the mover, Senator Zani, to respond.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg to reply. Let me start by quoting the words of Senator Sakaja. Laws are not merely suggestions. Madam Speaker, a lot of time, and these are the sentiments from the senators and also from legislators worldwide. When laws are made, it's a long, long process. It entails a lot of work. It entails a lot of cooperation. It entails a lot of research. These laws and the positions we have are on behalf of Kenyans. We are representatives of those Kenyans. Those suggestions have come from them. And those proposals, those legislative proposals that are meant to be proceeded to become acts, are meant to help certain facets that have been clearly indicated, Madam Speaker. And if there's a house that for the longest time One, we had the issue of pending, we had the issue of money bills initially, and then now we have the issue that after the law, the ruling, we're able to come back again with the laws. But Madam Speaker, we are coming to the end of our term nearly. We just left with about a year. And we need to feel a sense of satisfaction and a sense of achievement, indeed, a sense of having moved the wheel to the later stage. So I think this bill is very, very clear. And one of the things that it sets us to do, very clearly stipulated in the intention of the bill, is to provide a structured mechanism through which Parliament is able to receive reports from public officers. Madam Speaker, Senator Wako brought in a very important aspect that some reports or some recommendations might not necessarily be responded to immediately. This is covered in Clause 3, Madam Speaker, where we say a report shall contain information. That report that is coming from the public officer shall contain information on A, the action taken to give effect to the resolution or recommendation of a report, or where there is no action. So we're looking at both sides of the coin and really just focusing that we don't want to get a point where we're just getting no action, no action, no action, because that will set a basis again for putting more questions. Where there's no action given or taken or recommendation, that the reason must be given for that specific inaction. It really just wants to create a mechanism that from the time a motion, a resolution, a legal proposal has been agreed to, because I think Senator Sakaja, as you alluded, by the time we are done and we have voted, then we're actually saying it's really moved from beyond a proposal. It's not yet legislative law because it has to be ascended to as an act, but it is a good feeling about that this is the direction we need to be able to take. So when we get to that point, we really want to feel that as senators we've been able to do this. And Madam Speaker, this is what the senators who have spoken to this have, starting from Senator Kilonzo Jr., our new librarian, from what Senator Sakaja said, is the one with the records and keeping all his records for posterity. Senator Wambua, Senator Hargura, Senator Cheriot, Senator Wako, and I've mentioned, and I think even as we go to committee, we look at that and how to strengthen and how to word it in such a way that it is clear what the proposal and the way forward should be. Then we have also Senator Musuruve, who just said it very broadly that our work should not be in vain. Senator Mahmood, Senator Nyamunga, and lastly, Senator Sakaja. Really, we're looking at a system for greater coordination. We're looking at a system that will allow us to address the issues that have been raised. Madam Speaker, indeed, we're looking for a way of having an input process and an output process. I think this is going to be very important, even moving forward. And many senators have already said this, that we didn't need to get to this point where we need to legislate, because even the constitutional powers allow for enactment of those laws and processing of the same laws, and actually ensuring that the constitutional provisions, and you remember, Madam Speaker, many of the laws that we brought to this House are laws entrenching devolution. And those laws, once entrenched, will enable us implement the Constitution as envisaged, because we had the laws before the Constitution 2010, and now enactment of this devolution. Indeed, on the floor of the House, when we ended on Thursday, we had Senator Milgo's bill, the investment promotion bill, and it was exactly on that, and entrenching that investment proposal at the county level. So these are very, very key, and it is a way of helping counties to get to where we want to get to. You will remember, Madam Speaker, that many people in Kenya voted for Constitution 2020 because of devolution, and what they looked at devolution as a possibility of expanding the space, the social space, the economic space, very, very key, the political space indeed, and just making sure that administration is easier and better. And this is what we need to do. So I think from what the senators have said, we need to be able to try to solve the problem of follow through. This is what we want to be able to do, that input, output, we can go through that process. We want to be able to look at all these issues and look at the implementation status. And sometimes it is true that once you're implementing something, you might find one or two things that are not flowing as you expect rejected, then you can actually just come back and make the several necessary amendments to allow for that follow through. The clerks are also given a responsibility to convey to the relevant structures within 7 days the specific issues that have been highlighted, and to also be able to give a specific report at the several points. So, Madam Speaker, I don't want to go on and on about this because this is a very straightforward amendment. We just want to be able to get a report. We can get that report as a singular report. We can get that report as a consolidated report. We can be able actually to make sure that even extension of time is given. Madam Speaker, I said this last time, that for many committees, and Chair Sakaja has spoken, maybe the other chairs have also experienced this, they've actually gone through beyond legislation and beyond waiting for the answers for a system to be able to seek those answers, engaging, making telephone calls, calling over and over again. And I think that's an extra responsibility given to legislators that had not been envisaged as it's happening now. This law will enable us to get beyond that and give us a situation where we'll be able to enact from A to Z and actually make the resolutions, the dreams, the possibilities, the actions that are so required for the people to come true. Madam Speaker, with that I beg to reply and request that according to Standing Order 61.3, that the putting of the question / the voting be taken at another appropriate time. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Zani. I would now like to put the question. Sorry. I would like to defer as requested. I would like to defer the question as requested to a later time for the convenience of the House. Next order.
Order number 11, the National Flag, Emblems and Names Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 36 of 2020, second reading.
Thank you, Senators. This is resumption of debate, which was interrupted on Thursday, the 8th July. The mover had finished. It had been seconded. So the first debate will be done by Senator Kilonzo Mutola Jr.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will not get tired of pouring accolades on Senator Zani for her hard work in terms of these bills. We are proud of her, even if we have to sound like broken telephones every other time we repeat this. There's value in having women leaders like Senator Zani. Madam Speaker, I rise to support the National Flags, Emblems and Names Amendment Bill 2020, and I must declare my interest on this matter. I have a lot of time, Madam Speaker, for the National Flag, Emblems and Names Bill. Or should I wait? Because now I don't know whether to say Madam or Mr. Because all of you are, there's nobody on the seat actually. Oh, now it's Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have a lot of time for the flag. And allow me to say this at the onset. Citizen TV recently did coverage on what would be artifacts or memorable symbols or memorable buildings or historical buildings. They started with a building that most of us don't know, that is ideally what is a 0 mile. It means that the compass of Kenya, if you go there, it's called a 0 mile. It's a building next to Nya House. If you pass by there, Mr. Speaker, today, you will just find people walking around, huge overgrown trees. Nobody notices that there's a beautiful building done in 1918 that is actually the center of Kenya. The 0 mile of Kenya is actually somewhere near Uhuru Highway. And I hope in the construction of the road they are going to protect this building. The building called Kipande House that is run by Kenya Commercial Bank, in my own view, Mr. Speaker, this building should not be occupied by a bank. This is a building which tourists should come and visit. Similar to that building where the former President Murumbi and his wife donated their gowns they used to wear. You find them there. Same to the National Archives near Tomboya Street. Mr. Speaker, if you went there today, you find somebody selling groundnuts, miraa, or something. That building is hardly recognized. It's the same thing when it comes to the national anthem. Recently, and I don't know how far this went through Safaricom, somebody attempted to translate the national anthem into various mother tongues. By the way, it offended me. Because I believe the national anthem in the words that it was drafted originally, both in English and Kiswahili, must remain. Now, I don't know what language you speak, Mr. Speaker, but when this national anthem is translated to your mother tongue, it ends up having possibly more syllables, possibly longer. It's not the same, doesn't sound the same, it doesn't make sense. And that's not what we want to teach our young people, because there's value in having a national anthem in the languages that are recognized nationally. Now, I still wonder who came up with that. And therefore, this amendment speaks to those things. That we must protect our national anthem. And in protecting this national anthem, you must copyright it. So that the person who attempted to do that can be punished. Because that's not what the concept was when it was originally crafted and originally drafted. Mr. Speaker, I have argued this before. Even the symbols. There was a petition, for example, by a gentleman, I can't remember his name now. Mr. Speaker, this gentleman wanted the cockerel in the coat of arms to be removed. Why? Because according to them, that cockerel is a symbol of Kanu. And therefore, in his mind, that it represents Kanu in our national symbols. But it's not, it cannot be correct. A cockerel cannot be the symbol of Kanu, even if the symbol of Kanu is a cockerel. Mr. Speaker, these symbols are important for our nation. When we were growing up, Mr. Speaker, and I'm sure you recall, we used to recite the loyalty pledge. Now come multi-party politics, I pledge my loyalty to the president was then I pledge my loyalty to Moi, and it was scrapped. But it's a loyalty pledge. And I think these are some of the civics lessons that our children are missing. The value of this flag. I have proposed, Mr. Speaker, and I say this because I did some research, that this flag must be flown by every Kenyan. It cannot be a status symbol for ministers to break traffic laws on Uhuru Highway because they woke up late and they want to break traffic rules. Because they have a flag, they can drive on the wrong side. It cannot be a status symbol. It must be used by every Kenyan for our pride. When you watch at the end of the marathon, when we are number 1, 2, and 3, and the flag of Kenya is going up and the singing and the reciting of our national anthem, you get some sense of pride. So these symbols, including our flags and emblems, have been abused. And when I proposed that Kenyans must be allowed to fly flags like they do in the US, if you go to the US and you go to South Carolina, it's beautiful. The American flag is in every home. The pride. I've often argued, because we seem as a country not to be able to agree on presidency, that the presidency is not a symbol of national unity, as far as I'm concerned. Because now there are people who view the president as ours, they view the president and the opposition. So he is not common to all of us, like it was envisioned in this constitution. But there is one thing that does not distinguish where you came from, your tribe, the person you voted for, the person who lost the election, the person who won the election, the person who is in State House, and it's this flag. This is a symbol of our unity and our national anthem. Now, I was digging because that was my proposal, that either at Jamhuri Day or when we are happy, somebody has won something, I just go to my office, raise a flag, you know? In November 1963, and to be precise on 25th of November, the late Tomboy as Justice Minister, as young as he was at the time, moved an amendment to ban the flying of flags by every Kenyan. And there was a reason at the time. The Hansard records, Mr. Speaker, that the colonialists, those Europeans who we threw out of Kenya, were using the flag in the toilet. It was all over the place. So it was being abused. Because at that time, it was in the process of being approved as the flag of the nation. But Mr. Speaker, is that the position today? It is not. So the mischief of banning the use of our flag, in my view, Mr. Speaker, and I can say so again and again, has been, as we have done away with it and the mischief no longer exists. So these flags and these symbols are important for our nation. These small little things and bands that we wear, every time I travel outside the country, people admire them. I have to give them out. Somebody says, what is this? Is this the flag of Kenya? Could I please have it? And I give it with pride. This symbol, because it is the symbol of our nation. And that is the reason I support this, because it's protecting the national anthem. When I was studying abroad, and I was on my way back, the color of Kenya Airways used to settle our minds. But when you got in, they were either playing an African song or they were playing the national anthem. By the time you got into the plane on your way to Nairobi, inside that plane you felt that you're already in Kenya. It's a beautiful thing. And I think we should be playing our national anthem a little more often. I think we should protect it a little more often. And to symbolize this, Mr. Speaker, and Senator Zani, I want you to confirm, if you walk into my office here, you'll find I have framed the national anthem in Kiswahili. It's here in my office. In my office on Ngong Road, I've framed both the English version and the Kiswahili version. It's in my office, framed. On the wall as you walk in, you see the national anthem of Kenya. That is the pride I have in these symbols of this country. And it's an emotive issue. And we must continue speaking about it. Because in a divided country like this one, going into a divisive election, going into the sort of things we are going, the sort of things we say in public platforms, you want to look around and find something that will remind us that whether you come from Samburu, Kwale, Machakos, Kisii, whatever it is, we are all Kenyans. And therefore, allow me to again congratulate Senator Zani for this very noble cause of making sure that this is copyrighted. We were discussing it. Can you imagine, Mr. Speaker, somebody went and patented the word Hakuna Matata. I was in a shop and these young children were speaking about Pumbaa in The Lion King and Simba. Hakuna Matata. Patented those words that are Swahili words. And nobody in this country has ever thought that we can patent anything that is Kenyan. They never requested us. If you go to Japan and even China, they're doing our kiondos. And they have patented some of them. And yet, they are ours, original. So, Mr. Speaker, the idea of patenting, for purposes of Senator Zani, is that, yes, thank you. Yes, I want to be informed.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I information. Mr. Speaker, the other day we had some training somewhere in Dubai, and I think you were part of that delegation. And every taxi that we took, and they would ask us, where do you come from? Then we'd say, we are from Kenya. Then they would just say, Hakuna Matata. So you can imagine the word Hakuna Matata, or the sentence Hakuna Matata, is synonymous with Kenya. But we have not even taken a step to ensure that that one is patented and it is identified as Kenyan. That is how Hakuna Matata has spread in the world.
Thank you, and that's exactly what I was saying. In fact, for somebody to go to Disney World and patent Hakuna Matata, it's a mockery. It's just a mockery. It makes me feel very bad about some of the things we do. And some ingenious person is going to patent something else. They're just going to walk around and find something else that is typically Kenyan and patent it because we don't think we should patent. What it means is by the time a person out there even does a cap with a Kenyan flag, they will have to consult and pay royalties. That's the idea of patenting. The minute you wear like you are wearing a symbol, Mr. Speaker, I've just seen, I can see from here, if you wear the symbol of the country, you pay for it. Why? Because other countries are paying money for those lapel pins. It's part of commerce. So if somebody produces a cap that has the Kenyan flag, or produces any gadget that has a Kenyan flag, you pay for it. The other day when we traveled to Dubai with the Speaker, unbelievably, the UAE government last year put our flag on the tallest building in the world. On Jamhuri Day. The tallest building had our flag for 5 minutes. That's how important this flag is. And that's how important we should treat it. Because if a person out there can recognize this flag, we should recognize it. Give it to children, make sure they fly it. Sometimes when I see I went to a school and found a tattered flag. I bought one for them. I said, this is a crime. How can you have a tattered flag in a school? And yet they are sold here. I still think, and I have suggested, and I don't know why this has not been implemented, that the flags that we see out here on the corridors should be in our offices. The flag of Kenya and the flag of Makueni should be in my office, either outside the office or inside. It should, or outside, like they do it in the US. We should treat this very important garment. It's just a garment, but it carries the spirit of this nation a little more with respect, and insist that it must be carried with decorum. So that's why I'm saying you can't use a flag to violate the law. That's abuse. You can't put a flag on your car and just drive on the wrong side of traffic. That's wrong. It's abuse of a national symbol. So, Mr. Speaker, as I support this framework, I hope this will see the light of day, and I hope that my proposal on Kenyans flying flags in their homes during national days or selected days will see the light of day. It will create hope. And let me finish by saying, even the fight against terrorism requires for us as Kenyans to be patriotic. Somebody was teaching a patriotic class and they bothered to tell me, and they said, I'm trying to teach patriotism. Senator Zani is a teacher. How do you teach patriotism? How? Explain to me, how do you teach patriotism as a lesson? Where do you start? What do you say? You shall love your country. Why? How do you teach the subject patriotism? Mr. Speaker, you must first of all teach our children and ourselves to love country, love our symbols, protect our symbols, protect these things that matter to us. In the middle of any crisis, everybody should remember that when you allow a terrorism, you harbor a terrorism in the country, you are harming another Kenyan. That is called patriotism. When you take money so that a terrorist can get into the country, that is called negative patriotism. That's how you teach. But you begin with small little things. You don't begin with those big things. You begin with small little things. Things that people ignore. Things that appear like they don't matter, but they do. When people are watching football, out there you see their flags on their faces. I watched the match recently. People nearly remove their clothes just to show, because the only thing that reminds them that they are either Italy or England is their flag. That's why this is important. I hope one day history will record the work of Senator Zani in trying to improve our work. And I hope, for crying out loud, we can get some of the work we do here, Mr. Speaker. It makes me very tired, because we work so hard, we speak so well, and we speak well. You give us a lot of time, and it ends up nowhere. I hope some of these laws can be signed. I mean, in the middle of hopelessness, I must speak of hope, because that's the only way. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
Senator Mogeni Eric Okongo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for also giving me this opportunity to support this bill that has been sponsored by Senator Zani. Mr. Speaker, I don't want Kenyans to think that just anytime I speak, I only want to give many praises to Senator Zani, but it's because of the good work that she's doing in this House. Just imagine, who would have thought, Mr. Speaker, that we need to propose an amendment to this act to protect our national anthem. People will be thinking about other things and forgetting such a very critical aspect that has been brought to the attention of the House. I think Senator Zani has restored our faith in education. It's not for nothing that she's called doctor. And if there is anybody who doubts that she went to school and went to school properly, they should look through the Hansard of this House to know the quality of the person that we have in Dr. Zani. And Mr. Speaker, that's why some of us who belong to this party called ODM, we respect ODM. Just look at the quality of the nominees we have brought to this House. Many of the bills that have been proposed by Senator Zani are important. They unify all of us. When we make contributions, Mr. Speaker, we want to acknowledge oftentimes the good work that is being done by Senator Zani. So we compliment you, Senator, and we hope that you will continue doing this good work. Going back to the bill that is before the House, you know, Mr. Speaker, some of us who are practitioners, anytime you place a limit on legislation, some people can be very mischievous. And a good example, Senator Mtula will tell you, is people who said that our leases, you know, our land titles that we refer to as leases should have a time limit of 99 years. And exactly about 10 years ago, when these leases were expiring, there was chaos all over, because some people took advantage of ignorance of people who had inherited land, who didn't know the exact time when those leases were expiring, and people lost land, lost property. So a mischievous person can do something that this country will feel very embarrassed about if they stepped in at the expiry of 50 years and they did something that will make us lose this national anthem that has been with us for many, many years. And I was trying to look down memory lane. Incidentally, the person who assisted in composing this national anthem is somebody who had also gone to school, and gone to school properly. Professor Washington Omondi was among the 4 Kenyans who helped in composing our national anthem. Of course, he was helped by other Kenyans. There was George, there was Peter, and I think one guy, one white person called Graham. So you can see that what you are doing, Senator Zani, was started by scholars. You are just building on what other great scholars did. And everybody who has gone through school, Mr. Speaker, you know that we are taught singing our national anthem right from class 1. Some of us who didn't go to nursery school. When you go to class 1 in our schools, you sing the national anthem at least once every week. We used to do it on Mondays because it's a unifying, it's a unifying factor. When you say, God bless our land and nation, let's dwell in unity. I mean, it's something that should unify all of us and make us feel that we are proud, patriotic Kenyans. So it's something that we need to protect. Imagine for the many years that Kenya has been independent, we have never made any changes to our national anthem. We have never made any changes. And I think if we did a competition in Africa, the guys who composed ours, I think, did a fantastic job. It's one of the best. I've watched people, even when we are doing international competitions, when their national anthem is being played, I think Kenya has one of the best lyrics. When you listen to it, you can see that even the people in the stadium are enjoying. So I think what you're proposing, Senator Zani, is a good thing. And as Senator Mutula has said, we should echo what happens in other countries. If you travel to countries like Australia or even the US, people put flags outside their homes, as a sense of pride that you belong to that country, that you are a citizen, you are a national of that country. And that's what should happen. If you watch international matches, when maybe England is playing Spain, you will see people come to the stadium carrying the flags of their countries. So even vehicles, as they are coming to the stadium, they are having the flags of their national country. So I think our flag is something that should make all of us to be proud, to have a sense of pride that we are Kenyans, and it should be accessible to all of us. That's why in the last Senate, I really didn't agree with the bill that was passed by the Parliament, the previous Parliament, which denied our governors the right to fly flags. Because, Mr. Speaker, if you read Article 6, let's accept the architect of our Constitution is that we have 2 levels of government. That's what Article 6 says. We have the national government and we have the county governments. So if you can fly the national flag at the national government, why are we denying this privilege to the people who are heading county government? It's a law that I do not agree with. It's not that if you fly the national flag, it should make you to feel that you are more important than other Kenyans, but it is that identity that it gives you as a Kenyan, that you are there to serve Kenyans. The way Senator Mutula has said, the fact that you fly our national flag, the fact that it's pinned to your car, does not make you to be a more Kenyan than others. It should not make you have a sense of self-importance. It should just be a sense of pride in you. You are Kenyan, you are proud to be Kenyan, and you are serving your country in a very patriotic way. That's how it should be. But in this country at times, one feels that if you are flying the national flag and you are a cabinet secretary, then you are very extraordinary Kenyan. You're just first among equals. You can, even if you look in this house, Senator Pogisho here is a former cabinet secretary. When I was serving as a member of the Media Council of Kenya, we used to pay courtesy call to him as a cabinet secretary, Ministry of Information. He is now here serving this country as a senator and majority, the leader of the majority side. So these things we are there for a season. You move to another level again, you are serving your country. So it shouldn't be something that should make people have a sense of self-importance. So I really support what Senator Zani is proposing. It's a fairly straightforward bill, but the mischief that is being cured, I think, is what should make all of us feel proud of the good work that is being done by Senator Zani. Not many of us, some of us are even lawyers, not many of us would have dug deep into this bill and come out with the mischief that you want to cure through these amendments. So we really salute you, and I support this bill, and I continue to compliment you and thank you for the good work you are doing. And I finish with the words in our national anthem, which says that may God bless this our land and nation and the work of Senator Agnes Zani. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Pogisho Samuel.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to start by congratulating Senator Zani for not only being a patriot herself, but also being alive and awake to the things and the limitations in time that some of our laws, some of our acts of parliament do expire. And this is one of them that expires after 50 years. The Speaker, it's not easy for us to catch that. Sometimes it takes people who are cautious and awake to catch and help us to renew our laws and our acts of parliament. The Speaker, there are three reasons why I would like to speak to this. One is there are many of our laws that require special attention. But this one, Speaker, is about patriotism. This one is about loving country. This is really specifically a situation where all senators, in my view, should be present here to discuss. The Speaker, sometimes I fail to understand when a motion like this is being discussed and you find that it is not catching the interest of everybody in this country, including all senators, which I think they should all be here to discuss something about your flag, your emblems, and this is a very important part of our laws. So I want to congratulate Senator Zani for being that cautious and conscious so as to bring us to think about our national anthem, our emblems, and our names. We're going to focus mostly, Speaker, on the national anthem because that is the unifying factor for us. That is the role of, that is one of the elements that make us a nation. Speaker, when you become a nation, you have a constitution, and then you must have a national anthem. And if you look at the national anthems of the world, Speaker, let me begin with the national anthem of East Africa, the national anthems of our East African countries. We believe in God as the higher authority, all of us. And so you find, Mr. Speaker, that in Kenya, we begin with God, oh God. In Tanzania, they start with God because say, God bless Africa, God bless Tanzania. The Uganda national anthem begins with, oh Uganda. Okay? But they bring in God still within that national anthem. It's because the African nature is that we know that God is sovereign, and then we have leadership below that, under God. If you look at the colonial masters that we had, if you look at our own British national anthem, which is Speaker, very few people, I think people like Professor Ongeri and myself, maybe, a few people maybe sang the British national anthem. And that national anthem begins with God. But in a sense that God bless the Queen. Okay? So then the American national anthem is a war anthem. It's a war national, it's a war anthem. It begins with, you know, they say, oh, say, can you see? And they talk about all sorts of things. The reason I bring about all these things with Speaker is, and I give an example of my own county and a constituency called Kacheliba constituency, which I represented for many years. Mr. Speaker, in 1969, something like this came to the Parliament of Kenya, reminding us that some things do expire. If you don't catch it, you will not be able to change, or you will not be able to bring it in good time. In 1969, a new member of Parliament that time was Mheshimiwa Francis, or Honorable Francis Loile Lotodo. Actually, his full name was Francis Polisi Loile Lotodo. He was elected in 1969. And he brought to the attention of this country that the place called Kacheliba, that time called Karapokot, actually Karasuk, was being administered by Uganda. And the term of administration was ending. So he had to actually bring out the issue that we need to start preparing to receive that part of our country back to Kenya. That's where I was born, that's where I represented for many years. So in 1970, Mr. Speaker, Kacheliba was reverted back to Kenya. And it was known as Kenyampia. And I am a beneficiary of that kind of foresight, that kind of consciousness that Dr. Zani is bringing today to us. The story was interesting, and I can say a bit of it. In 1929, the British thought that they could sort out the issue of Pokot-Karamojong conflict by bringing the entire Pokot from that region to be administered from Uganda, so that they might perhaps be assimilated into the Karamojong, or that the Uganda government can then control the two communities together. So from 1929 to 1931, it was an experimental period. And they said that in 2 years that they watched and observed, they said, looks like this can work. So in 1931, therefore, they signed a full agreement saying, my constituency, my home, was given over to Uganda for administration for 40 years. And the 40 years expired naturally in 1970. And that's when the Mheshimiwa Lotodo raised the issue, and of course we were brought back to Kenya. Can I tell you something, Speaker? If in January 1971 we had not reverted back to Kenya, that's when Idi Amin took over Uganda. So you can imagine, if we had not come in July of 1970 back to Kenya, we would still be administered by Uganda, because Idi Amin would not have allowed us to come out of there. That is the status of such bills. And I thought this is a patriotic way to think about those bills. My congratulations go to Senator Zani, because our national anthem, our emblems, I propose in this contribution, Speaker, that having dealt with the national flag, national anthem, national names, and even places, we should therefore then cascade this to our counties, because the flags of the counties need to become part and parcel of our national flags, the flags of the counties, so that they are important enough for us to have the two flags, since we have already adopted a two system of government, so that we have a flag. And I agree with Senator from Akweni, who proposes that when we deal with the offices of senators, outside your office, they should fly two flags. You should fly, there should be a national flag on the one side and your county flag on the other, so that anybody coming to visit knows that this is West Pokot flag. This is the senator for West Pokot. Mr. Speaker, we can also do this so that citizens can actually have flags. They can actually raise flags on national days outside their homes. The only difference should be that we should define what size of flags should be flying on government buildings, and what size of flags should fly in the car, what size of flags should fly in your home. Those things can be made so that you don't find a humongous flag, covering the whole car, on your car. That's why we should be able to do that. I think in other countries, you can tell a government building by the size of the flag. And then you can tell the size that you fly at your home. Mr. Speaker, we've been very mean, in my view, with the size of flags that we fly in this country. I don't know who told us that we must have a small flag that flies in the schools and things like that. So we must definitely begin to be patriotic. The patriotic nature of Kenyans has not been expressed in flags, but this is the time that we should express it in terms of our flags. The national anthem, Speaker, after 50 years, now we have to think, do we go on with our same national anthem? Should we revise our national anthem? Should we add or remove anything in our national anthem? I like our national anthem. Our national anthem in its lyrics as well as in its music is fantastic. And I think we are almost slowly losing that excitement of singing the national anthem, because we should sing the national anthem at various places. We should do it at weddings. We should do it wherever. We should do it because this is the way that our country has been held together. It is the national anthem. It is the flag that brings us together. I know, Mr. Speaker, the other day when some people some people wanted to remove, for example, Mr. Speaker, the cockerel from our flag. Mr. Speaker, I don't know. This House refused to support that. And I want to congratulate this House, because it is the original element and document that gave us our independence. Mr. Speaker, you cannot just think that when you grow up, then you begin to say, my mother or my father was like, no, these are the people who gave birth to us. So, Mr. Speaker, I do believe that when this House refused that motion and refused that motion, they were being patriotic, because our national anthem has got to remind us of our independence, which was not an easy thing to get. And our independence came not easy, Mr. Speaker. It came through sweat and blood. And so I do want to support this motion, Speaker. I do want to encourage our members to pass it. I do want to repeat that I congratulate Senator Zani for this motion. Speaker, the national anthem of Kenya, the flag of Kenya, you can see it from afar. The people who have held our flag very high, the Speaker, are our athletes. From 1960s, those days during independence, after independence, the flag of Kenya has been raised, the national anthem has been played during our sporting activities, during international sporting activities. We have ruled the world in terms of athletes or athletics. My senior, Samson Ongere, was part of that. When he was in our sports, controlling our sports, he was one of the people that raised the level of our sports, especially athletics in this country. So we need to maximize, take advantage, leverage some of the things that we already have, including sports. Mr. Speaker, when Kenyans go out there and do a 5,000, 10,000 marathon, and every time they go there, sometimes it is number one, number two. These days they are being challenged quite a bit, but they are still there.
Virusi vya korona huenea unapokaribiana na mtu aliyeambukizwa kupitia matone, haswa wakati anapokohoa au kupiga chafya, na pia kwa kugusa sehemu au vifaa vilivyo na virusi hivi. Jitenge kisha piga nambari 719 ili upate usaidizi. Mtu yeyote anaishi na maradhi sugu kama vile virusi vya HIV, kifua kikuu, saratani na mengineo anashauriwa kutumia dawa zake jinsi alivyoshauriwa na daktari bila kukosa. Komesha korona. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na serikali ya Kenya.
De una forma differente, de otro modo.
We've got to try and put it out before it spreads. Hurry up!
It was a brilliant idea to set the Star Zone on fire.
What a pity. Max won't be able to bring out his product and all his hard work burned to ashes.
Star Zone is on fire right now.
What? On fire? How did it happen? All of it is going up in smoke. The entire Star Zone.
De una forma diferente, de otro modo, nunca igual al de otra gente.